I saw something about the NPR CEO, and you're going to fill us in on what the hell's going on.
Absolutely. The current CEO of NPR is awful.
Yikes.
Our story here today begins with a guy named Yuri Berliner. He is a 25-year veteran of National Public Radio. He's currently a senior business editor. I believe we have his picture here. This guy is a self-described EV driving, Wordle playing, tote bag carrying coastal elite. He says that description doesn't perfectly describe him, but it's not far off.
He's a douchebag. He's taking photos on the bridge like that.
He was raised by a lesbian peace activist mother.
Great.
This guy is as liberal as can be.
Okay.
But he just recently put out a letter, or a whistleblower report published as an open letter, alleging that NPR, which is a publicly funded radio program or radio network, is extremely liberal, and in the last 10 years has gotten so much worse than anybody ever could have imagined. We have a report on every detail of this on VT.com, by the way, if you're interested in reading along with us. But according to his allegations published in the Free Press last week, in 2011, NPR had an audience of 26% conservative, 23% centrist, and 37% liberal. He freely admits they always skewed a little bit liberal, but they did try to be fair and balanced where they could, and they had their priorities in line of trying to put the truth first. In 2023, the NPR audience is 11% conservative, 21% centrist, and 67% liberal.
Damn.
And it shows that not only are they losing conservatives, they are also losing centrists. They're losing rational, middle-of-the-road independent types. And he points the finger at a lot of how they have reported on the biggest issues in the last few years. He says in 2016, the higher-ups at NPR made it their goal to undermine Trump in every possible way.
What year?
2015, 2016 is where a lot of this started. They wanted to undermine Trump. They went all in on Trump-Russia collusion. By his count, they interviewed Adam Schiff 25 times on Trump-Russia collusion, where Schiff kept talking about evidence that never materialized. When the Mueller report came out and said...
How many times? 29?
25.
25 times to interview a guy about a hoax that turned out to come out and be a hoax.
25 times interviewing a confirmed liar of the highest order who was undermining democracy, trying to overthrow a duly elected president. They were supporting insurrection, just peaceful insurrection.
Yep.
And they also went all in on denying the Mueller report. When the Mueller report came out saying there was no Trump-Russia collusion, they downplayed it. They refused to mention it, which seems like a big deal after 25 Adam Schiff interviews. They downplayed the Hunter Biden laptop story with their managing editor saying, "We don't waste our time on stories that are not really stories. And we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions." They amped up the letter signed by intelligence agents saying, "Oh, it's Russian misinformation." Turns out Hunter Biden laptop was 100% true. They denied the COVID lab leak theory, and then when they got a new CEO a few years ago, they made DEI their, quote, North Star. Everything they were doing after George Floyd was about DEI. That was their biggest priority. And using $1 million that they got from the NPR Foundation, they made sure they had DEI consultants and diversity trainings and sensitivity seminars for the whole staff, like top-down DEI, everything. And they have all these groups, special interests represented in every possible way.
And who funds NPR?
It's public. Members and public, so a little bit from the government. I'd say that this in Canada we've got to defund the CBC. That's the state.
They get
Pravda.
they get like 2% from the government, but a lot of the other funding comes from local affiliate fees that also kind of come from the government. So it's a little bit hazy on how much comes from the government. Oh, that would be us.
Okay, so in essence, in a roundabout long way,
propaganda.
We're paying to be propagandized.
If NPR gets any government funding, it is because of us. We are the ones paying for it.
Most
And
boring radio, by the way,
they're
ever.
lying to us.
Well, by the way, one that you might have forgotten, but there's too many. I was just Googling the amount of times I called out NPR. They said it was safe to return to the homes of East Palestine like a week after the event. So, downplaying everything, covering the government. They are the government, lapdogs, not the government watchdogs.
Yeah. Does Soros have his mitts in there?
I'm sure that it's a little bit hazy about, like I said, where a lot of their funding comes from.
660 radio stations that he is currently acquiring.
660.
I'm sure that'll be in there.
Add a couple more, it'll be 666.
Well, maybe he has that because he's got the Cuban radio stations that he's bought. But those are easily able to be flipped to be NPR format, where it's liberal-leaning talk.
Exactly.
Formats.
So in his report, Berliner also said that by his count, there are 87 Democrats in editorial positions at NPR and 0 Republicans.
Weird.
Which even for...
that's far too many Republicans.
Yes, even for an outlet that skews a little bit liberal.
Try to hide it.
Yeah, it makes no sense that would be the breakup if they try to be balanced. It's also saying their audience is like 6% black, 17% Hispanic, and the rest is progressive, white, affluent, coastal liberals. Which...
They're still white.
Yeah, as you might know... there's a particular group of these white liberals that are really, really terrible. We call them AWFLs, AWFLs, affluent white female liberals. And at the end of his report, which I have here for us.
That just sounds bad.
Yeah,
if you could put the U in there and just use ugly. I mean, that would be.
Yeah,
you could actually have awful.
Ugly is perfect.
Ugly
Sorry,
is insane.
that's not nice, but that joke right
This
there.
really does go for the point I'm making, because at the end of his report, he mentions a few weeks ago, NPR welcomed a new CEO, Katherine Maher, who's been a leader in tech. She doesn't have a news background, which could be an asset given where things stand. I'll be rooting for her. It's a tough job. Her first rule could be simple enough. Don't tell people how to think. It could even be the new North Star. He ends his report on a hopeful note about the new CEO. So let's meet the new CEO here. This is Katherine Maher, the woman who's now in charge.
Hold on.
Was she on her way to get vaxxed?
By the way,
when she took that photo?
Connor, you could have just left this photo, and I know everything I need to know about this.
I could end my report right here, and you now know.
Like, hey, got it. Mask outside with a Biden fucking mask.
So,
the eyeballs.
Unfortunately, it seems Mr. Berliner's hopes are unfounded. A lot of this information about Katherine Maher's background has been exposed by journalists like Chris Rufo and a couple other people recently as this controversy develops. There was big backlash against Berliner over his report. NPR is denying all the allegations. He was just suspended for 5 days without pay. Then right before the show started today, he announced that he was resigning. He's fully done at NPR.
So that's probably either you resign or we're going to fire you.
After
publicly,
25 years.
Which for them would look horrible. Right? I'm surprised that he would resign. I'd stick it out and go, unless they're giving him a severance of some sort.
Fire me and let's put it on blast even more. I was going to make a joke about Ich bin ein Berliner, but maybe it's not the right time. The question I had was, what percentage of people who are wearing masks at this point in time are liberal progressives voting for Biden? Like we were having
98%.
Who's the 2%?
Probably people with
people
pre-existing medical conditions. There are people who do need to wear those masks, and it's not because of fear.
Chinese people too.
Well, Chinese people, they don't.
They were doing it before the pandemic.
There's a guy at my gym on the treadmill, and it's the tightest mask I've ever seen in my life. And when I look at him, I don't know who the hell he is. I just go, what are you doing?
Yeah, I try and be understanding. When I see them, I go, well, maybe they have some type of existing condition. I'm not passing judgment.
Rob, it doesn't, but at the end of the day, what is a mask actually doing?
Maybe it makes them feel better.
Yeah.
I don't care if they wear one. I don't like when they look at me and go, why aren't you wearing? What's wrong with you? You're going to kill my Nana if you don't wear one.
I don't care that they wear them either. I just do wonder what's going on in their head. Like, I just went back to Canada, and there's statistically more people in Canada wearing masks than, say, in Florida. And I saw a young couple, young, healthy, 28, 30-year-old couple, and I wanted to ask them, but there's no polite way of initiating that conversation.
It's the same thing as the parents that are getting their kids gender changed. It's the same type of person. The person that's susceptible to brainwashing.
Yeah. Rob,
so let's say that person's in charge of NPR.
There's no easy way, because I'm telling you guys right now, I'm sorry for my language. Every time I see somebody with a mask, I just want to go, hey, excuse me, What the fuck are you doing?
See,
Have you not read or seen anything?
it's
not a
I
lie.
appreciate your approach more than my father's. I love him to death. My dad, when he sees people wearing masks, like we've been driving and he'll lean out of the car and go, "Bah, sheep." And I'm like, Dad, we're just going to have breakfast.
Well, I would be, they might have a medical condition. It might be particulate matter in the air. But I want to have the discussion. It's not just that we know what it doesn't do. We know what it does do, and they're finding plastics deep in human lungs. In Quebec, there was a potential toxic face mask that people were wearing. Felt like they had Either way, okay.
I love that. I love. Just her wearing that mask triggered all of it. Connor, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Go back to your story.
No,
I'm still bothered.
This is the conversation that needs to happen because that's a photo that shows everything you need to know about who this woman is. This woman who is now the CEO of a taxpayer-funded propaganda outlet that is, according to this report,
Oh my God.
leaning super hardcore liberal. So just a bit about her background. I did a deep dive on her LinkedIn resume page. This is all open and public. Search Katherine Maher on LinkedIn and you'll find this woman. Before she...
Did you just presume her gender? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hashtag
Microaggression.
Actually, I did not presume. I did not presume. She has pronouns in bio.
Oh boy.
So we know we're okay to call her a female. We have her permission. This is her first job in the news industry. Prior to this, she was the CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation, which is the group that runs Wikipedia.
Wikimedia.
And we don't have time to dig into this, but if you ever look into what this group does, you know how Wikipedia has a fundraiser every 3 months?
Yeah, because I'll see it on the page when I go to look up. I'm like, okay, let me look this up. And it goes, give me $10.
Yeah, if every person reading this would chip in the cost of a cup of coffee, we could, whatever.
I'd rather have the
Wikipedia
coffee.
is not that expensive. Wikipedia is not that expensive to run. They have server costs, and then it's open source. People put stuff up on the site. So where does that money go? A lot of it gets kicked back to their parent company and then distributed as donations to a lot of political groups. We don't have time to dig into a lot of what that is, but look that up. It's very interesting what they get up to with all that money they're given. Okay. But she was the CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation. She worked comms jobs at UNICEF and the World Bank. She was a term member at the Council of Foreign Relations.
Oh,
and
CFR.
she proudly lists on her LinkedIn page that she is a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader.
There it is.
So there you go. A WEF, UNICEF working, Biden voting, mask wearing.
Didn't you start this with, is George Soros involved?
Yep.
And now we've come full circle.
Yeah, now it's
Beautiful.
All roads lead
Klaus
back to
Schwab
it.
approves of this woman.
And by the way, just wait for the moment when all of a sudden their stats are going to change. There's only going to be 50 liberals on,
Of course.
and then they're going to say 40 whatever or 30 whatever else. Not mentioning that the 30 else are going to be even more left of Mao. It'll be
And you think that it's such a DEI woke company? You only have 6% black and white, and all these white.
that's the audience, not even the employees. Like,
Oh, that's the
6% of the NPR audience is black.
That's very interesting. I would think that it would be higher because usually black people are normally more Democratic than they are Republican. But we're seeing that shift, especially in the 2024 election, where reports are that more black voters are going towards Trump as opposed to Biden.
Yeah, and also don't forget, like we mentioned, their audience. Their content caters to an audience of affluent white female liberals. Now they have one running their organization. A few other little highlights from Katherine Maher's history. She joined NPR in January. She's put out statements saying that we succeed through our diversity. She condemned Yuri Berliner's letter as very disrespectful, and everything was completely discredited. And then she also says that having a younger, more diverse fan base is better. It doesn't matter that they've turned off everybody else because the people they have now are the ones they really want anyway.
So they want an echo chamber where they're telling their dumb views to dumb people who read them and then re-spout those dumb views on the internet.
They want, or Katherine Maher has the company, or has the organization just to cater to more people like her. So a few highlights from her social media activity. There's a now deleted post where she just, with no context, said, "Hey, Donald Trump is a racist." We're really unbiased reporting there. We have a couple tweets to cycle through here. One where she talks about she has cis white mobility privilege that would enable her to leave the United States if Trump wins.
This is a result.
I have cis white mobility privilege, but some people don't, so we have to make it safe.
I'm sorry. She's mentally ill. This is mental illness, insanity that anybody uses this language unironically. And I went to her Twitter profile. Yeah, she, her. They're crazy people. When did the crazy people take over the asylum is the only question.
Dude, by the way, have you ever heard of something like cis white mobility? What the hell are you?
I don't even know what that means. What does cis mean?
Okay, cisgender is when you are not trans.
So
normal.
said normal.
So regular.
Said normal. Sorry.
Dude, now
Yeah,
you see,
don't apologize
now
for
you
it.
see what that mask does? It tightens up the oxygen and ruins your brain cells because she's a dumb.
Breathing in dumb particles.
And then mobility privilege, I'm sure, is either ableism in that she's able to walk, or she has the financial privilege of being able to move out of the country. But her whole point is like, oh, I have to acknowledge my own privilege as a white non-trans woman who can leave the country at any time. Like, great, congratulations, you have so much privilege.
That?
Oh, God.
I have no idea. Another one during the riots of 2020 where she downplayed looting and said, it's really not that big a deal. I don't get why CNN is complaining about people
angry
stealing
shopping.
shoes.
Yes, angry shopping.
yeah, ask the guy whose CVS that he owns is getting robbed and burnt to
Let's
the
see.
ground.
I
How do we
agree,
get from,
looting
like,
is...
Rodney King to that? Like, why can't we ever get it right in the middle?
Yeah.
You know what
I mean, sure, looting is counterproductive, but it's hard to be mad about protests not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression focused on treating people's ancestors as private property.
I'm gonna play this card just because I know that she would. Her forcing Yuri Berliner to quit or resign. Anti-Semitism. She's an anti-Semite. She needs to be canceled, and she should be removed from the board or whatever of NPR.
Katherine Maher, cancel. Is she related to Bill Maher?
I was
don't
looking
know,
to see
but
if she was Jewish. I couldn't
Seems to be
get
something
that
with the
info.
last name.
I
there.
mean, yeah.
But a few other things. In August 2021, shortly after leaving Wikipedia, she gave a TED Talk about the importance of public trust in institutions. And she said, quote, Wikipedia writers are not focused on the truth. They're focused on something else, which is the best of what we can know right now. Our reverence for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done. So basically, there is no truth. We just need to post things that are helpful to us. It doesn't matter if anything's true or not.
That's funny, actually. That video came across my feed this morning. I had no idea who she was. I thought it was Banks, that actress from Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh yeah.
But set this out. I'm gonna double down now. She's also racist if she does not quit and fill that position that she has with a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
She's racist and anti-Semitic, and if she continues to act for NPR, so is NPR. Cancel NPR.
Yeah, if that person of color isn't trans, she's also transphobe.
Oh,
Exactly.
She's transphobic, she hates Jewish people, and she's racist.
And
Bring
she
her
needs someone
down.
who doesn't have
Yes.
mobility privilege. So either someone who can't legally leave the country or someone in a wheelchair.
mobility
Or
in a
both.
wheelchair.
She can walk. If she doesn't hire someone who's physically
Yeah.
disabled, she's
Okay, so wait. Let's see.
She's
We
ableist.
need-
That's it. She's everything. Ableist, racist, anti-Semitic, misogynist. She's a misogynist also if she's a straight woman.
We, the panelists of Unusual Suspects, here and now call for Katherine Maher to resign from her position at NPR
Yes.
and appoint a black transgender lesbian dwarf in a wheelchair.
Yes.
as
Jew
the new
also.
executive.
or else.
You know what's crazy? The 800 people that are going to be watching this live, that's more than listening to all those NPR radio
I love-
stations.
and I
So
love
we
you
have
guys.
more power than she does.
Yeah. I love you
Yeah,
guys.
but anyway, to bring it back full circle, as we mentioned, Yuri Berliner has now resigned after being suspended for 5 days without pay. I don't know how this is not considered retaliation against a whistleblower, which should be illegal and everything. But we'll see where it goes from there. I mentioned on last week's episode a few examples of how journalism is dying. Mentioned the ridiculous headlines about transgender Indonesian prostitutes and MAGA people punching people in New York. But these are the real world consequences of journalism being dead. Is that something that was once relied on as a impartial news source is now just pure government propaganda, purely benefiting one side.
I feel
and
like
we all lose because of that.
I feel like that meme with the guy on the moon with the gun pointed at the other guy and saying, it always was. I'm convinced it always was now. And now we just know it. And good riddance to bad rubbish. NPR is among the worst of the rubbish. Let them die and let folks like us worry about actually not presenting our truth, but actually trying to present the truth with a little bit of spicy opinion.
I love that. It's not our truth. It's the truth coming out of our mouths. And that's it. And I respect you. Great story, Connor.